Hello everybody and welcome to today's video. That was a little dramatic. Before the video even starts, I have to come from the editing future and just warn you guys about this video. My camera is unfortunately possessed by Satan. When I try to film this video, of course, the entire thing filmed out of focus. So I'm gonna be a little blurry, okay? I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure it was my lens, so I switched lens, which is why I probably look good now. You know what? I have astigmatism, okay? I can't help it. I got blurry vision constantly, okay? If anything, you now get to see what my vision looks like on a constant basis, even with glasses. I'm just trying to sharpen the video as best as I can. Sir, it's probably gonna come out like a little grainy, a little blurry. I don't know. It's not gonna look right. I'm just forewarning, the entire video is like that. I'm so sorry. I don't know what I did to the universe, but apparently she said I need to pay for something and that's what I'm doing. Just, you know, don't stare too hard. Don't put it on full screen. Don't put it on full screen. Just listen to my voice. Maybe like occasionally glance, put it in the distance, and everything should be fine. Today's video, we are going to be discussing Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, the sequel. I guess it's technically the sequel, even though it's like 20 years later, to the original Beetlejuice. I did watch the first Beetlejuice in preparation for this one, just to kind of remind myself of like what happened, because like it's been a while. It's been a hot minute since I've watched Beetlejuice. But before I get into like any actual like spoilers, I don't know why you clicked on a movie review if you haven't seen the freaking movie yet, but I'll get into spoilers here in a bit. I feel like this is the perfect movie if you are wanting to get into the mood for Halloween, which is exactly like what I was ready for. It's got that Tim Burton feel to it, where it's like, oh yeah, this is a Halloween movie. I'm gonna enjoy this. I'm gonna have fun with it. I was really scared going into this that they were going to do sort of like the nostalgia bait. Disney is notorious for that, and when I found out that this wasn't a Disney movie, I was like, okay, I think we're in the clear. Again, it's a very like Tim Burton-y feeling movie. It follows like Tim Burton logic, if that makes sense. You kind of have like these wild and wacky characters that kind of progress or push the plot forward. The story itself is kind of separated into like 3 different plot lines. You have, you know, you follow Lydia, who Winona Ryder, and then you have her daughter. I'm gonna have to look up her daughter's name. Jenna Ortega. I don't know who her character's name was. Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. Okay, but what's your character's name? Her name was Astrid? Bitch, since when? I don't think I heard that once. But she had her own kind of separated storyline, and then of course you have Beetlejuice. So the basic plot of this, it can kind of stand separate from the first one. So like I don't think you necessarily have to see the first one in order to understand this one. Obviously because Lydia has a child, it's going to take place in modern times, in the future, whatever, where Lydia has become sort of this psychic medium star presence. Justin Theroux, I think is his name. I was getting confused with the Canadian Prime Minister. His name is Rory. Let me tell you, I do not know people's names for shit. She has like this producer slash boyfriend slash fiance who is kind of a creep. I'm gonna be honest, he's a creep. They're kind of like producing this show, which honestly, get that bad girl. If I was in the same position and I had these psychic abilities where I'm unwillingly seeing ghosts, you bet your sweet ass I'm going to milk that for money. She has a very strained relationship with her daughter who's off to college. And I think she has a very interesting storyline with her mother of like that strained relationship and then having to overcome that. And then what sort of brings those two together is unfortunately the passing of Daddy. What's his name? God damn it. I have to keep looking at these people's names. What is Daddy's name? Delia. I genuinely already forgot Jenna Ortega's character's name. Astrid. Lydia. The reason why those 3 come together is unfortunately because of the passing of Daddy, or Charles from the first movie. They don't play it serious, which is like, it's okay for this type of movie because it is such like a ridiculous movie. Like it's a Tim Burton film. Like I don't know how to describe his films if you have never, I don't know how you've never seen one of his films, but like it operates outside of our reality. The characters just act and react in such a ridiculous way, but it makes sense for the world. They're like overly dramatic about his death, but it makes sense for the characters and the world, so it works. But unfortunately he does die and they do kind of play it off for laughs. There was this kind of weird moment where I don't know if it was like claymation or what it was, where they kind of reenact his death with like this claymation style animation situation. And it was kind of jarring at first. I don't know if I like that. I'll be honest, I'm gonna have to sit with that one because I don't know if I liked it or not, but it was jarring. The dude gets eaten by a shark. I mean, but at least we do have Catherine O'Hara, who's fucking killing it. She ate some of those outfits. Like, honestly, she aged very well. They're gonna have his wake or his funeral at the original house. In conjunction with that storyline, we have Beetlejuice's storyline. There's one thing about this movie. It's fun, and I think you should go see it. But it's one of those movies where, like, if you think about it too hard, you're like, wait a minute, is that a plot hole, or like, there's something weird going on there. You know what I mean? Beetlejuice is back somehow. He got eaten by a sandworm. They don't explain how he's like now a manager. I don't know. Like, how does the afterlife is a very weird place, and I don't really understand how it works. Like, you have like a whole ass detective department, and you have whatever the hell Beetlejuice is doing. I don't know if he's like part of like the whole afterlife government facility system, or if he's like his own separate company and that's what he's doing. That was just kind of like one where I was like, oh, he's back, okay, cool, and he's a boss, okay, cool. His ex comes back. Also, Danny DeVito's in this movie. I knew it was that little fucker from the first Flash. I'm like, oh, that's Danny DeVito. He just has that body and structure that like nobody else can replicate. He's in here, he dies very quickly. He makes a short cameo appearance. Love that for him. Beetlejuice's ex reanimates, and she's another character that like slayed this movie. Like, she honestly looks so good. I don't know who the actress is, but she is so pretty, and her character design was so cool. She has like the stitches. She looked great. I do have a little bit of a complaint about her character, which is that they don't really utilize her that much. Scorned lover, wants some revenge. She's also a soul sucker because she performed blood ritual sacrifices from the previous life where she actually married Beetlejuice. Like, this is when Beetlejuice was alive. She married him. They ended up basically killing each other. So they have like this whole like little montage of that, which again, stylistically, it's a choice. She's just kind of like the driving point of like why Beetlejuice kind of like bugs Lydia again, and she kind of like chases him around a little bit. She like floats around the hallways and like sucks some souls sometimes. I kind of wish, because she has such a cool character design, I kind of wish they would have utilized her a little bit more, other than just like this plot point to get Beetlejuice to fuck around a little bit on the living side of things. So that's kind of like the first part of the movie. The second part, you got shenanigans of Beetlejuice. You got your Beetlejuice comedy. He's playing around with Lydia, like spoken her a little bit, her and her new boyfriend. Because it is comedy, it is very subjective. So like what I may find funny is you may not, or vice versa. Personally, there was some jokes in here that landed, some that didn't. But for the most part, I think it was pretty funny. I mean, obviously you got a character like Beetlejuice. He very much felt very Deadpool-esque, this movie. Like, he was doing some stare at the camera, fourth wall breaks. That was a choice. That was a choice. I don't think he did that in the first one. So it was a little like, oh, we're doing Deadpool now. Okay. There was one shot where he lingered. He really lingered, and I'm like, oh, that's 1 second too long. If it works for you, that's great. It didn't really, it just kind of took me out of it a little bit. There was other gags that I thought were like genuinely funny, or like visual gags that they didn't really like address at first. Like the house, they put the house in a mourning shroud, which I thought was hilarious, and they didn't really like address it at first. Charles's headstone, it was a fucking shark fin. And then one particular thing I almost was gonna hate the movie for was Jenna Ortega's character. She is kind of anti-paranormal. You kind of get annoyed with her a little bit, but you understand where she's coming from. I can kind of get not wanting to be drawn into that crazy aspect or be viewed as crazy by association because your mom is a psychic. Strangely, I can relate to that. Even though she was being sort of like that angsty teen, you kind of could understand where she was coming from. This kind of pushes her to go on a bike ride and crash into a treehouse where this cute lanky boy is just reading some book that she also knows too, and they connect, and next day she's in his freaking house. At first I was gonna have an issue with this because I'm like, do I really want a love story? Especially not one where you're gonna have like just 2 scenes and like they're already like making out in the bedroom, you know? Like I'm not a prude, okay? Why did I say it like that? I came out so accusatory. I'm not a prude. I'm fine with romance. It's just when I'm watching a movie about Beetlejuice, I would prefer to have Beetlejuice than a love story. But they tricked me because the kid's dead. So you got me there, movie. They actually got me a couple times with that storyline. So looking back on it, I actually quite enjoyed that storyline. They didn't do what I thought they were gonna do. She meets him the first time whenever she crashes into the treehouse, and then like immediately goes into his house, which at first I was like, girl, stranger danger? You just met the boy. Like, even though I didn't have a problem with this storyline at the end of it, I did have a problem with Jenna Ortega's character's choices, because girl, what are you doing? First off, I was like, you are having an intense conversation with a kid you just met in the treehouse about like talking about death and her family. You gotta at least know the person for a month before you get into that. Like, is this how you guys make friends? In the second time that they met, he had the handbook for the recently deceased. He was like, I just bought it at like a yard sale or whatever. And I was like, oh, does that make sense? I didn't think he was dead though. Like, I probably should have picked up on it, but I didn't think he was dead. And the only reason why, because I know it's like only dead people have the copy, but that's not necessarily true as established from the first movie, because Otto was able to take the book and like parade it around. So clearly it's not a handbook that only the dead could have. So that's why I didn't like put 2 and 2 together. When it came around to the time where, oh, he's dead, I'm like, oh shit, okay, I love this actually. It was giving Casper vibes, if you've ever seen that. That's another good movie. It ended up having another twist to it, which is that you kind of see, he introduces sort of, he just kind of like, oh, this is my mom, this is my dad, and then they could just like walk upstairs alone. Again, girl, stranger danger. But it turns out they're also dead too, and the kid is the one who murdered them. And then he ends up tricking Jenna Ortega's character to go to the other world to kind of like swap lives, swap positions, so that he can be alive and that her soul is damned to be dead or go to the afterlife or whatever. So the movie, like, all in all, it really has some great moments. It really has a great twist in there, in my opinion. I probably, again, I ain't the brightest bulb in the shed, and I probably should have picked up on it, but I didn't, and that got me good, and I enjoyed it. I did laugh a lot, and my theater really enjoyed it. Theater experience really makes or breaks it. If the theater's laughing, you're laughing. The only thing that I'm kind of contemplating on whether I like or not is the third act. I don't know if, like, it's weird. But that's the whole point of the movie, right? But I don't know if it's weird in a way that I think it matches with the rest of the movie, or if it's weird in a way that it takes me out from the movie. After Jenna Ortega's character is taken to the other, to the afterlife, you have Lydia turning to Beetlejuice to help her. So she ends up going into another marriage contract with his ass. But she's also supposed to be marrying Justin Trudeau's, I don't think that's how you say his name. Kind of end with a wedding ceremony and a mausoleum crypt situation. Wait. There's pews. Maybe it's just a church with a cemetery around it. They had a really cool ceremony, actually. Like, if I was really into death, that would be my wedding venue. So Lydia ends up teaming up with Beetlejuice, who is currently on the run from his wife. Also, speaking of that storyline, Willem Dafoe is in this. He's just fun. He plays a detective, an actor detective. First, he chases down Beetlejuice's ex, but then he ends up chasing down Beetlejuice and Lydia because they broke some laws. Again, Afterlife is so weird. He's just fun. It's Willem fucking Dafoe. He's got a fucked up face. He looks cool. His makeup's cool. And Bob. I feel so bad for Bob. Why'd they do Bob dirty like that? He was so fun. Dare I say it, he was kind of hot. I'm just kidding. Basically, he was the Beetlejuice decoy in case the ex came running back. And he got killed. Where was the police protection program? They don't have that in the afterlife? He was just sitting in the interrogation room, ripe for picking, and she came in and killed him. And I'm like, for what? And that was another thing about her. It's like, she asks questions like, where's Beetlejuice? And she doesn't even give him the time to answer. She did that a couple times. She's like, where is he? And then she's like, sucks their soul. And I'm like, girl, you didn't even let him answer. Poor Bob. Justice for Bob is all I'm saying. And then also, here's another thing, random thought, but the shrunken head guys, like, he ran a whole office of them. They ran through the hole and they went into the real world. What happened to them? Delia, unfortunately, she dies. Another kind of funny death. They call them poisonous snakes, but they bite her and she dies, which means they injected venom into her system, so they're venomous. Nitpick, I'm just saying. So she was trying to, like, just trying to honor her dead husband. Like, she really loved her husband, and she ended up getting bitten by some venomous snakes and died. And so she's in the afterlife too. Towards the end, during the third act where everybody's getting married, they have this music sequence that goes on for a little too long. Like, again, they have some like really funny moments, but I'm like, okay, you're gonna do the whole song, huh? Which, do I really blame them? Because they probably paid a lot for the rights to that song. So you're gonna milk it for its money's worth, right? The police are coming on him. His ex-girlfriend is coming on him. Everybody is like just culminating to this one point of this like final showdown. Everybody kind of crashes the party and kind of stalls it. The way that they solve it is with the sandworm again. I get it's like a callback to the first movie because they did that in the first movie. It just felt very easy. Like, okay, we're just gonna quickly open a portal. It just kind of like comes in and eats the ex and both exes. Like, is he dead now? Are we okay with that? I mean, he was money hungry and only wanted to marry her because of the money. Does he deserve death? And then Beetlejuice, all she had to say was Beetlejuice 3 times and he turned into a balloon and exploded. I don't know. I'm sitting on that one. I'm sitting on that one if I like it or not, if I like the ending. The resolution, or like the after the climax part of it, was kind of nice. You got the reunion between Delia and Charles, which I thought was so cute, even though like he's missing like his upper half. But it was like, aw, they're gonna go spend the afterlife together. Now I hope he, you know, if they take the train to wherever they're going, does he regrow his head back? Like, I would hope. That kind of sucks if he stays that way forever, right? Like, that's rough. I don't know if I could love that for the rest of my life. But Delia is better than me, honestly. Lydia kind of says goodbye to her whole television career and is like, I'm gonna go spend time with my family. I'm gonna go enjoy life. And good for you, but like, also you can do both, right? Can you not make money and enjoy time with your family? It kind of ends with like a gag, which I don't know if some of it was real, because they ended up going to like a haunted location, and then Jenna Ortega's character ends up falling in love, getting married, having a baby, and then they bring that creepy ass baby back into it. Obviously this isn't real. I figured it was going to be a dream sequence at that point, but I'm like, was the thing before that, like where she meets the guy and gets married, was that real? And maybe is she pregnant? Is that real? And then like Lydia's just having a dream that she ends up giving birth to Beetlejuice. At the end of it, she ends up waking up from her dream, and then Beetlejuice is there, and he's like, well, that was a weird dream. Like, it was, obviously it's leaving the door open for another movie, which I'm sure, based off of box office returns for this weekend, that it's gonna get a trilogy, I guess. Technically it would be the third movie. The first movie was called Beetlejuice. Second movie is called Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. Obviously you have to call your third movie Beetlejuice Beetlejuice Beetlejuice, and obviously you have to have a third movie. It's right there in the title. You got to do it. So overall, like, even though I did have some like there is some things that I'm still questioning about, like, they didn't really tie up that loose end, like they didn't really answer this question. But the first movie was kind of like that too. You don't really need to tie those things up. It's just a fun, goofy movie. You gotta take like and it's a me problem. I know that because I'm overly analytical with these types of things, and like I always question like the most random thing. Even like the most tightly written movies, I'm still questioning things, and it's like they don't need to answer these things. In this case, it's just a fun movie. A lot of the rules in the afterlife, it doesn't make any sense, but it doesn't really need to make sense because it's the afterlife. So a lot of these questions, it's like, well, they don't necessarily need to be answered. When it comes to like whether or not I enjoyed the third act, it is kind of like, well, that felt a little too easy, and I do wish that like some of the characters would have given me a little bit more. At the same time, it's like, were they really there to do much? Like they're just there to look pretty. Like it's really all we need them to do, right? Because they're not the ones driving the story. It's obviously you have Lydia and you have Beetlejuice, Delia, and Jenna Ortega's character, whose name I still can't remember, those are the ones who are actually driving the plot and the story, and those are the ones who actually matter. So having characters like the ex or like Willem Dafoe's character who didn't really do much, they don't need to do much. They're just there to look pretty and have fun. Go watch the freaking movie. It's a great movie. It's a great Halloween movie. It's a great time. Stylistically, it just looks, it's aesthetically pleasing. I just love the look of it. Any Tim Burton is like spooky, but also wacky and fun. Got your comedy, you got your horror. It is a little gruesome. Like, I was kind of surprised. I don't know why I kept thinking it was like a Disney movie. Like, I know it's not a Disney movie, but I really thought they were going to be a little more tame. But they weren't, which I'm happy for because I do love myself some comedy gore. I can't really speak much on like the CGI and the visual effects because I'm not a visual effects artist, but I think they did a pretty good job. The sandworm, I'm pretty sure that's claymation. I don't know if that is. I thought it all looked pretty good. I don't know if like all of that was practical. Obviously not all of it's practical, but I don't know exactly what type of visual effects CGI went into that, but I thought it looked good. Actors, they were acting their little asses off. Freaking Catherine O'Hara, I think she was the standout for me. She was having the time of her life, her and Willem Dafoe. So yes, if you guys have not seen Beetlejuice already, go ahead and see it. Catch it in theaters. I caught it kind of early, honestly. Sometimes I'm a little late to the game. If you have seen the movie, just let me know what you think down below. Did you guys like it? Did you enjoy it? Did you think the comedy worked? Was there any characters that you really enjoyed or really didn't enjoy? Is there things that worked for you really well, or are there things that didn't work for you very well? If you're a visual effects artist, did you enjoy the visual effects? You know, just let me know what you guys thought about the movie. So without further ado, that is going to be it for today's video. And I will see you guys on the next one. So goodbye and have a good life and good afterlife. That was a really weird way to end it. I don't know. I'm sorry guys. I'm working on it.